We know a lot about this thing called alcoholism and drug addiction. Now, it's easy for me to understand why a lot of people think that we don't, because it seems like that there are a lot of people who actually need treatment who don't get it, and it seems like a lot of the people who do get treatment don't get better, and that's confusing. How is it that any cure for anything gets found? Well, the first thing that happens is a patient, a person who has something going wrong with them, will come along with some signs and symptoms, that's some problems that have scared them enough or hurt them enough that they want somebody to help them, right? One of the things that would be done with people who had done wrong in a town is that they would put them in the stocks. Do you know what the stocks are? You know, the three where you put your head through? So if this guy's making corn whiskey and getting drunk, what they would do is the town elders would put him in the stocks with a sign that said, you know, inebriate or something like that, right? Why do we say things like 10% and 30%, which makes treatment and recovery sound not very effective? Why is that true? What if the patient looks up at us and says, well, you might be right. I mean, this sure has been making me sick, and I believe I'm going to be able to give up Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm going to have me some M&Ms, at least on the weekends with football. And gets up and heads out the door. Well, would the problem be that we didn't know what was wrong with him and that we didn't know what to do? No, those aren't the problems. That's not the problem with treatment. The problem is what he believes. He believes that's the problem with treatment. Addiction is just the word that represents the problem. Recovery means getting better from the problem, and program means what do I do to get better from the problem. But you see that everything comes from my definition of addiction, doesn't it? At what point do we call anything that's going wrong with a human being a disease? And why don't we call the thing that's going wrong with you a syndrome or a disorder or a habit or a sin or whatever? Why don't we call it some other name of a problem? Now, some of you might have figured this out, that even if I had found a significant difference, I was going to have a hard time with the direction of the arrow. I was going to have a hard time saying that stupidity is the cause of alcoholism. It's just as easy to say that alcoholism causes stupidity. You know, so I was going to have a hard time saying cause and effect, which is often true in research like this. We have family members of addicts and alcoholics who come in and they really believe that apparently not being able to hear very well and not being very smart is part of the problem because they'll yell at them. Why don't you just stop? As if somehow or another, if I say it sort of loud enough and slow enough, you'll get it. It's like this. If you take something and it makes you see things, you're psychotic by definition, but that does not mean you have the mental illness that causes such a thing when you stop taking the drug and you stop seeing things. See? If it's a symptom of taking the drugs. And we think that's a lot more likely. So here's the thing. You could be a depressed person, right, who's not very bright and be an addict and alcoholic, but also that could not be the case. And it's a lot more likely that your ingestion, using alcohol and other drugs, is causing you to look like that than the other way around. Does that make sense? Everybody who uses a mood-altering substance has that which they wish to alter, the thing which needs to be changed. In this word equation, we just let the word pain represent that, because that's the most often given reason. As those negative problems start to get worse, look what they do. They provide upward pressure on my original pain or problem, right? Because see, this wasn't solved, it was only relieved. So as my negative consequences go up, well, of course, so does my original pain or problem. Because stopping using drugs, that's the easy part. Most people stop on their own. Most people stop on their own many times before they make it into treatment. Not using is not it. It's how do I live therefore. So what is it? If it's a primary symptom of the thing called alcoholism and drug addiction, what exactly is this thing and how does it work? So that can't be what we're talking about exactly, because if every human being has got this sort of normal protective mechanism, normal circuit breaker, then it can't be the same as the symptom of addiction. Shoot, I've stolen dope from myself. You know, I've had enough. I have enough for the weekend, going into Friday night, Saturday morning, you get up, it's all gone, you say, who stole my dope? And nobody else was there. You know, nobody else could have used it, right? For many years, I believed that I was allergic to potato salad. I believed that there was something in potato salad that really, really made me sick. So much so that I would get queasy when I was just around potato salad. And I'd go by people saying, how can you eat that stuff, man? That's just, I mean, there's something in that. It's really bad. And I'd feel queasy and I would avoid it. I'd sort of go around it so that I couldn't be next to it. And I was going to be several years into sobriety, clean and sober for about 2.5 years, and I was going to go to an AA picnic with my sponsor. And we're in line getting stuff, and I'm making my little circle around the bad potato salad. My sponsor thinks this has this chronic condition that they're going to experience craving to a greater or lesser extent at some time. So what I think is that we really need to understand it, and I understand it in a personal way, and I'm going to tell you how I understand it. It's in a thing called the cat called craving. Well, 2%. Let's do something a little different here, craving. We're going to have to do something different. And then I discovered the next thing about craving is craving's a mean cat. He's an angry cat, really angry cat. Get where he would calm down, and I would think, this is not bad. This is not bad. If I just keep him cut off for long enough, he starts to quiet down and stuff like that. And so I'd be a few weeks into it, and I'd start to think, I got this beat. I believe I got this knocked out. And then I'd get to thinking, well, I'm just going to go to the Milk Festival, but I'm just going for the music, And then I found out the next problem with craving is telepathic. Craving is telepathic. Craving could see that I was checking the price and come screaming into the grocery store, buy it, I'm dying here, man. I haven't had any in a long time, buy that milk. If I start remembering the good times, craving things, he's going to get fed. Now see, that's a problem for me in a lot of ways because I sort of fancy myself to be a milk connoisseur. So see, here's the rules. No matter what, don't feed the cat. That's the rule. No matter what, don't feed the cat.